Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Einen wunderschönen guten Abend and welcome to Photo Chats with Nats. My name is Nathalie, or Nats, how my friends call me, and I'm a professional photographer based here in Johannesburg, South Africa. I'm a Fujifilm ex-photographer. I'm left-handed and I shoot with my left eye, but I can cut scissors only with my right hand. Today, I want to talk to you about why I think you need to use a lens hood. And you may think this is really a weird topic because we spoke about, so far only about what it feels like to get a new camera. And then the first couple of steps that I think you should take when you first get your new camera. And now I'm jumping to lens hoods. But let's figure out why I choose this topic so early on in the show. But first things first.
I need to speak to you about a piece of plastic. A lens hood. It comes with a lens. You need to use it. It's designed to keep lens flare out and give you a more contrasty image. And it protects your lens from bumps and knocks. And if you keep the lens hood on, you can keep the lens cap off, and your camera is always ready to shoot. You need to use your lens hood.
All right, so I think I've made myself clear that you need to use your lens hood, but let's find out why. So it protects your lens, it avoids lens flare, and it makes you shoot faster. So this is what I'm going to talk to you about today, and then obviously also going to introduce the next show. First of all, I'm saying it protects your lens. It's just a little piece of plastic. So how can it protect your lens? When you use your camera and you may have it strapped around your self and you walk around, you may bump the lens. But if you have the lens hood on, then obviously it protects the front part of the lens. So that will make sure that it doesn't get damaged on the sides, or maybe that something even goes and scratches the front or dirts the front of your lens so that you can carry on shooting and have a clean lens. For example, if you are shooting a wedding or an event where there are a lot of people, then this is a very good way to protect your lens. And also, if you walk around outside, you are walking through the bushes, or you're, going through a tight space or whatever, it definitely is a very good idea to always have your lens hood on so that it is protected from anything that could damage it. Or, even worse, imagine you drop your camera and then, as it usually happens, it would drop onto your lens. So if you have a lens hood on your lens, it will be much better and protect the front part of your lens, and the chances that your lens actually gets damaged is much less. It usually happens in those kinds of scenarios where, you're really rushed and you really need your camera, so you can't afford it to get damaged. So put that lens that lens hood on, and, be safe and keep your lens protected. Also, it avoids lens flare, which is probably something that you're more familiar with and have heard, because this seems to be the more standard practice. And I thought when I first started shooting with bigger cameras that a lens hood would like keep light out of your lens and would, so your camera would require more light to take a good picture. So I was hesitant to put that lens hood on. I have no idea why I had that idea, but this is what I thought. So I wouldn't use my lens hood. And then, as it is, you bump your lens and you damage it. And then someone, shared with me that I should always put the lens hood on. And, it since then has saved me from getting my lens damaged. And, so now it's not only that I avoid lens flare, but I do avoid lens flare if I put the lens hood on, because it keeps stray light out. So it gives you a longer tunnel that your lens looks through. So if you have light shining in from the side, it can't enter the front of the lens, and so it doesn't make those flares in your picture, which is what you want to avoid under normal circumstances. And also, when that happens, the light usually diminishes contrast. So it's a more washed out look that you get from lens flare, and you usually want to avoid that. So keep your lens hood on and make sure that you get beautiful saturated colors and nice blacks and beautiful looking images. Also, it actually makes you shoot faster, because like I said in my video, if you have your lens hood on, you don't necessarily need to put the lens cap on while you are using different kinds of lenses. You have them in your camera bag. Think of a wedding photographer, for example. He's got a couple of lenses that he needs to change around during a wedding, and it needs to go fast. So you can keep that lens cap off, have the lens hood on, and that way you can, don't need to remove the lens cap, turn the lens hood around, put the lens on your camera. It'll take a lot of time. So you take those lens caps and put them in a safe place, and that also makes sure that you don't, put them down somewhere and forget them and lose them, as we all know that happens. And then you have the lens hood on the lens, and off you go. And then when you're done with your wedding, you will obviously put the lens cap back on your lens. But while you're shooting, it allows you to quickly change lenses, and you're much faster. And let's now have a look at how you fit that lens hood. So there are different kinds and different ways of doing this, but I thought I'd share with you a tip, because sometimes it's a little bit fiddly. So what you do, and I'll show this with different types of lenses. This one is an easy one, so I thought, let me take the easy one to start off with. You will basically, so let's take that off first. So you have your lens hood, and before you fit it on, but you turn it counterclockwise basically until it gives you a nice click and sits nicely, and then you can actually turn it to fasten. That way you protect the thread of the lens hood, which is quite delicate, and if you fumble and you may screw it on skew, then you will damage the thread of the lens. So this one here, for all Fujifilm shooters who know the 10 to 24 millimeter wide angle lens, they may know that this lens hood is a bit tricky. And so you do the same thing though. You just put it on the top of the lens, you turn it counterclockwise until it clicks in, and then it played along. Then you put it in. So sometimes it's a bit fiddly, and be careful, because you can actually damage the thread, and then the lens hood wouldn't sit properly anymore. So make sure you do that. You turn it counterclockwise first, and then you turn it clockwise to actually fasten it. So like I said, there are different types of lens hood, and that is for a very good reason. Those hoods are not just a piece of plastic. They come in different shapes for the different types of lenses. So for wide angles like this here, this 10 to 24, you get this butterfly or petal or whatever people call it shaped lens hood, because it is a wide angle. So if it was solid, parts of the lens hood would actually show in your picture. You can try that out. If you put the lens hood on skew and then take a picture, you'll get black lines on the edge of your photograph. So, the people who make lenses actually know what they're doing, and they give you the correctly shaped lens hood with it. In a zoom lens, it's similar because it also goes from a more wider angle to a longer lens. So that hood is, a mixture between the two, because ideally you would want a very long funnel to really concentrate the light so that you get a really beautiful and, saturated image. But, depending on the nature of the lens, that's not possible. So for a zoom lens, this is a nice compromise. And then with prime lenses, like I showed you here, this is the 50mm f2. This has a cylindrical shaped lens hood, which, works really nicely and is the ideal shape to give you a good image. But like with everything, there are a couple of exceptions, not very many. So in general, I would say always put your lens hood on, always, except for two situations. The first one is when you actually want lens flare. I guess that kind of makes sense. You want to create an image that is, has more of a washed out, a sun-kissed look, and you really want flare in your image, then you don't use your lens hood. But then you just take it off to take the picture, and then you put it back on, because you want to protect your lens. Other options, when you want to create starbursts and you want to shoot into the sun and you want to have creative freedom, then you obviously remove the piece of gear that protects you from that. So you will then possibly not shoot with the lens hood. You can always try, by all means, to shoot with the lens hood on and see what you get, and maybe you like the result. But if you need more of an effect, then remember that the lens hood is actually what's, keeping the sunlight out. So have a try and see how that goes. And, practice with it. But always make sure you keep that lens hood on in all the other situations. And there are a couple of people watching and commenting, so thank you for that. Let me see who is saying what here. So we have Robert here. Hello, Robert. It's so nice to see you. Randy's tuned in. Thank you so much for joining me. And then there is Stanley. Oh, have a look. So Robert thinks that this is a top tip. I use them primarily to protect the glass. Love lens flare though. So in general, Robert, you agree with me that you also always use a lens hood. I'm glad. Very good practice indeed. And he bought a pricey one. So they are specific Fujifilm lens hoods that are metal and they're square and they're nice and retro, and we like that a lot. So they're available for some lenses, not all, exactly the same reason like I've mentioned before, because the shape is not suitable for all types of lenses. And Randy says, I have to start doing this, although I'd need a bigger camera bag for quick access to my camera. I've been using UV filters instead of caps, which works great, but obviously not ideal for flare. Yes, so this is a completely different topic again. Using UV filters obviously is also a good way to protect your glass. There are a variety of opinions out there about UV filters. It's a really good thing, but it's a give and take. So whatever works for you, as long as you're aware that you need to protect your lens, that is definitely great as well. Just be mindful that if you use a UV filter, you do not protect the side of your lens. You're protecting the glass, but you're not protecting the side, the thread, so if you bump somewhere against it, it's still quite vulnerable. So a lens hood is a good idea. Thank you. And that concludes my episode for today. Trying to get quicker and not to keep you too long, but thank you so much for tuning in and for sharing your thoughts and comments with me. Tomorrow we will hop into a topic where I'll talk about using just one camera and one lens. And I hope that you will join me again tomorrow. And please, if you may, subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on anything that's coming up in the near or distant future. Share the link also with whoever you think may be interested in joining as well. And then I will see you all tomorrow. Again, 8 p.m. GMT +2, as always, right here, same place. And I can't wait. You have a wonderful evening. And